Hello, my babies. And how are we right now? I'm fucking fine, man. Looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down. This is looking into your eyes, right? It's supposed to be. Sometimes I'm very good at this, but other times I'm just like looking at myself talking to you. All right. So today's video is Isn't doubt the complete trust that something is off? Does this mean that trust is inherent? Oh, I definitely remember when I was thinking about this. Here. Isn't doubt the complete trust that something is off? Does that mean that trust is inherent? I was watching a lecture. I love the way that guy speaks. And basically, he was talking about, he was articulating. All right, so what he does is basically he takes something and kind of like, especially when somebody asks him a question, what he does is he takes the question and he basically deconstructs the question and where it's coming from, practically like I do with myself and with others. You can get very uncomfortable unless somebody's actually like putting themselves in a position where I actually want to know. And I understand that fully because of like how many times I lost friends over it, because a lot of times, basically. And Freud says that perfectly. There's a paper that I listened to once that was read out loud that discussed psychotherapy. And the main thing is the client has to come to the therapist's office in order to get therapy. That's basically effort, and I'm putting myself out there and I'm actually making the decision. And on top of all of that, he pays at the beginning of the actual session. And the idea behind paying is the commitment to that decision. It allows people to stay the hour, 45 minutes for them to kind of like do their thing. I've been to therapy, I don't know about you guys. But so what he does is basically like somebody kind of stands up and asks them a question, random question, and he answers. And so the question was, how do I trust something? And then he basically reflected on how doubt is ultimately us trusting that something is off. And his entire explanation of it was very much around trust because, like, I am trusting that this video is going to reach you. I am trusting this water is going to quench my thirst. I'm trusting this cigarette is going to, like, basically give me a buzz, I guess. Everything we do is trust based. Everything we do from a movement's perspective. And, like, I remember that lecture changed me because the whole lot of conversations in my head basically went from like what if to I'm trusting that that what if could possibly be true. And so that kind of like removed my focus because ultimately that's the same energy of trust is either going towards doubt or it's going towards belief. That's a good way to look at it because I didn't mention belief in the note, but now it's coming. It's either believe or you doubt. So if you believe something to be true, that means you're trusting that it is true. And if you doubt something to be true, that means you're trusting it not to be true, basically. Or you're trusting and you're doubting in its truth, which is a trust in the doubt directly, right? So, any way you look at it, trust in itself is basically given by us to anything that we interact with. It's how we interact that receives the trust. And so, doubt is the complete trust that something is off, or that something can't work, or that it's unbelievable, right? Like, I don't have to doubt that it's true what you believe in. I can trust that it's unbelievable, and they kind of like are the same because ultimately, like when you're believing in something, you're trusting in something that leads to that belief, and when you're not believing in something, you're trusting in something that leads to doubt in that belief or leads to unbelief. And again, I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but it's the core is how we how we project our energy of trust, how what we have when it comes to trust is actually basically where it's given, where our trust is placed when it comes to things. Let's take, for example, our body. And I challenge anyone right now watching to kind of like, uh, just kind of like move their hands and just like do something with their hands. Like say, I want to grab this bottle and I reach in and grab it. And what I did effectively is I trusted that my hand will actually reach there and come. It's because it's an inherently built trust with our system. That's this. Now that I want you to basically say, like, I'm going to move this muscle to raise my hand, and then I'm gonna extend my elbow in order to raise my hand, and then I'm gonna I move my fingers a certain kind of way. Like, if you follow on these kind of things, you'll start hesitating, and hesitating is basically you doubting. And what you're doing is you're interfering with a system that you already completely trust, which is your body moving, your interactivity, your kind of like all the fun stuff that you get to do with that body. So that's the first point of trust is us, is within ourselves. And then basically we're extending that trust through our body to the outside world. Like I'm trusting this bottle is going to be hard, or it's going to basically like because water you can't you at one point started trusting that. So you're not doubting that water is not going to stay in your hand. You're starting to trust that water is going to like be fluid enough to kind of like go away from your hands, right? Like because you're not going to be able to grab water. You'll only get a bit wet and everything, all that shit. So, anyways, uh, what I'm trying to focus on here is how basically trust is kind of like extended from us, and like the origin of everything is trust. So, doubt is actually when we're doubting something, we're trusting in that doubt effectively, right? Because you're trusting that doubt is real, or you're trusting that the outcome of that doubt is real, or the belief that comes from that doubt is real, or the end result of that doubt is more plausible than basically is more plausible than the end result of trust on whatever it is you're doing. Right? Because if you're doing something and it's gonna end the way you want, you're trusting that's how it goes. If you're doing something and you're doubting it's gonna end the way you want, that's where your trust is going. It is very much how we are inputting our energy. Our essence, our entire essence. Like I think Descartes talked about this. Like I think, therefore I am. Like he's trusting in his thinking process. That's why he's trusting in his existence, right? And because I think I am, and because I am, I actually like. Well, because I breathe, I think, and because I think I am. Basically, like just that circular thing. Like because I feel this, it is. And that also takes me to like Rishidavata Chandas, which is basically the knowing, the knowing, the knower, and the known. So somebody has to basically see something, and something has to be seen in order for the whole like I have to I the knowing as in like I am the one knowing. The knower, no, so the knower, I'm the one knowing. I'm the one that I'm the knower. I'm no I know that this is there, and this has to be known in order for me to kind of know it exists. And that creates the duality. And ultimately, the knowing is the whole basically thing that is created by this relationship. And at any given point in time, if one of these things, and this kind of like reciprocates into life because it's consciousness breeds consciousness and kind of like multiplies on top of itself. And you go all the way back to like all concepts we have, like the concepts of I really love the concept of a table because ultimately like once somebody figured you can lay stuff on a higher level, then basically people started being a lot more creative. Why? Because Somebody saw it, and it was there for somebody to see, and then that created a relationship, which changed the way it's being seen and changed the knower, and like basically it's just kind of like started transferring itself through other forms of life. And the idea is that's how life is. That's how life started. It's because consciousness saw itself, and basically the consciousness seeing itself means there's something about it that's kind of like knowing about itself. So there's knowing consciousness, and then knowing and consciousness being what's being known. And then ultimately that created a relationship, which kind of like that trinity, which starts kind of like perpetuating itself and expanding into like more things to be basically be realized. And every time something is being realized, it creates an extra like kind of like grit. So the reason I'm saying this is because like foundationally, uh, our trust is basically just in it's 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 found in the smallest of existences that basically combine within our like direct surroundings. I trust this is real, or I trust this contains smoke, or everything. So why would we doubt? Because when we're doubting, what effectively we're doing is we're giving our trust to that to the energy of doubt instead of giving our trust to the energy of belief. And trust is inherent; it's the basis of everything. So once I realize that, I can choose where my trust goes, and everything that's basically not really supporting a vision of an existence that I want is not really to be trusted, including doubt. It's a video.